When I was 13, yo dad brought a 3 months baby boy and dumped on me to raise him. So I did this. My dad stumbled through the door at 2 a.m., reeking of whiskey and regret, a squirming bundle in his arms that he thrust at me like it was a bag of groceries. I was 13, half asleep on the couch. My math homework crumpled under me when he said, "This is your brother, Lila. Take care of him." No explanation. No apology, just a 3-month-old baby boy, eyes wide and wailing, and dad's boots already echoing out the door into the night. I stood there, frozen, the weight of little Tommy in my arms heavier than anything I'd ever carried. Our apartment was a mess of unpaid bills and broken dreams. And now I was supposed to be a mother me, a kid who could barely keep a goldfish alive. The next morning, I woke up to Tommy's cries, his tiny fists flailing like he was fighting the world already. Dad was gone, probably at some bar or crashed at a friend's place. He'd always been a ghost in our lives, ever since Mom left when I was 6, chasing a better life that didn't include us. I didn't know how to change a diaper or make formula, but I figured out the basics by trial and error, my hands shaking as I mixed powdered milk with tap water. The neighbor, Mrs. Carter, a tired woman with a kind smile, saw me struggling in the hallway and handed me a stack of hand-me-down onesies and a half-empty can of formula. "You're too young for this, Lila," she said, her voice soft with pity. I wanted to scream that I knew that, but instead, I just nodded and took the supplies. School became a distant memory. I tried to keep up at first, dragging Tommy's car seat to the bus stop, ignoring the stares from other kids, but the teachers didn't get it. "You can't bring a baby to class," Mrs. Larson snapped, her glasses slipping down her nose. I wanted to tell her I didn't have a choice, that Dad hadn't come home in days, that the fridge was empty except for a jar of mustard and Tommy's formula. Instead, I dropped out by October, trading algebra for sleepless nights and diaper runs. The world felt like it was shrinking, closing in on me and Tommy, but his gummy smile when I sang him lullabies made it bearable. Barely. I started scavenging. The corner store threw out expired yogurt and dented cans of beans, and I'd sneak out at dawn to grab what I could before the garbage truck came. I learned to stretch a dollar further than I thought possible: generic diapers, thrift store clothes, and a busted stroller I found by the dumpster. Tommy didn't know we were poor. To him, I was everything: his food, his warmth, his world. But I was drowning. At night, when he finally slept, I'd cry into my pillow, wondering why Dad thought I could do this. I was a kid, not a hero. Yet every morning, Tommy's coos pulled me out of bed, and I kept going. One day, I found a flyer at the library for a community center that offered free daycare for teens. It felt like a lifeline. I showed up with Tommy, expecting them to turn us away, but Miss Elena, the director, looked at me with eyes that understood too much. "You're doing good, my kid," she said, taking Tommy gently. "But you need help." The center became my sanctuary. They had formula, toys, and people who didn't judge me for being a mess. Miss Elena taught me how to budget, how to apply for food stamps, and even got me enrolled in an online GED program. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't alone. But Dad came back. He always did, like a storm you couldn't predict. It was a cold November night, and Tommy was teething, his cries piercing the quiet. Dad burst in, eyes bloodshot, demanding money. "You got any cash? Lila, I know you're hoarding it." I stood in front of Tommy's crib, my heart pounding. "We don't have anything," I said, my voice shaking. "It's all for Tommy." He laughed, a cruel, hollow sound, and grabbed my arm. "You're just like your mom, useless." That's when something in me snapped. I wasn't useless. I was Tommy's everything. I pushed him away, hard, and he stumbled, shocked. "Get out," I said, my voice steady for the first time. He left, cursing, but I knew he'd be back. I couldn't keep living like this. Tommy deserved better, a real home, not a battlefield. I started asking questions, digging into what I could do. Miss Elena connected me with a social worker, Miss Rivera, who listened to my story without pity, just respect. She explained my options: foster care, adoption, or fighting for custody. Foster care scared me. Tommy could end up anywhere, with anyone. Adoption felt like giving up, like betraying the bond we'd built. Custody seemed impossible. I was 14 now, still a kid in the eyes of the law. But Miss Rivera saw something in me. "You're his family. Lila," she said. "We'll fight for that." The legal process was a maze. I had to prove I could provide for Tommy, which meant getting a job. Miss Elena hired me part-time at the community center, cleaning and organizing events. It wasn't much, but it was enough to show I was trying. I moved us into a tiny studio apartment with help from a housing program, a place where Dad couldn't find us. Every night, I studied for my GED, Tommy asleep beside me, his soft breaths keeping me grounded. The court hearings were brutal. Dad showed up once, claiming he wanted Tommy back, but his slurred words and shaky hands told the truth. The judge looked at me, a skinny teenager with dark circles under her eyes, and asked why I thought I could raise a baby. I told her about the nights I stayed up rocking Tommy, the days I went hungry so he could eat, the way he smiled when I sang. "He's my brother," and I said, "I'm all he's got." Months later, the judge granted me temporary guardianship. It wasn't full custody yet, but it was a start. Dad disappeared again, and I didn't care. Tommy was mine, legally, for now. We weren't perfect. I burned dinners, forgot doctor's appointments, and sometimes cried when the bills piled up. But we had each other. Tommy's first word was Lila, and it felt like a medal, proof I was doing something right. Miss Elena and Miss Rivera became my family too, cheering me on as I finished my GED and started community college classes online. I wanted to be a social worker, to help kids like me who got dealt a bad hand. Years passed, and Tommy grew fast. By the time he was 5, he was a whirlwind of energy, asking a million questions and drawing pictures of us as superheroes. I was 18, still young, still scared sometimes, but proud. We'd made it through the impossible. One day, at the park, Tommy ran up to me, holding a dandelion. "For you, Lila," he said, his grin wide. I took it, my heart swelling, and realized I'd raised him not perfectly, but with everything I had. The world hadn't broken us. We'd built something stronger. Looking back, I don't know how I did it. I was a kid, thrust into a role I wasn't ready for. But love makes you do crazy things. Tommy taught me that family isn't just blood, it's the choices you make, the sacrifices you endure. I don't regret a single sleepless night, because everyone brought us closer. Now, as I watch Tommy chase butterflies, I wonder what you think. Was I right to fight for him, to take on a burden no kid should carry, or should I have let him go, hoping for a better life elsewhere? Share your thoughts. What would you have done in my shoes' end?